Hey guys, a few days ago I did a video comparison between the Dell XPS 13 and the Microsoft Surface Pro range. Now, in that video, I pointed out that the Dell XPS 13 can be connected to an eGPU, so you can increase the graphical power using one of the two Thunderbolt 3 ports. Each of these ports allow up to 4 lanes of PCI Express bandwidth. And that allows you to increase your graphical power, something which is quite limiting in a laptop of this size. Now, I want to talk about eGPUs a little bit more in this video because I believe there's a lot of misconceptions about eGPUs. There's a lot of marketing behind eGPUs that suggests it's the best solution out there, the ultimate solution for everyone, and it's not. I think eGPUs are a very good solution for a very limited amount of people, but there's a lot of things that people are forgetting about. The fact is that with an eGPU, you can increase your graphical power, but normally you would be better just building a separate PC to get that graphical power. And secondly, people are forgetting about the CPU. You're kind of swapping one bottleneck for the other. So let me rewind for a little bit and I'll expand upon that. What we've got here is a very portable, lightweight laptop. It's about 1.2 kilograms. It's perfect for productivity. It's perfect for doing some work on the move. It's very light. You can hold it with one hand here. And it's a fantastic little laptop, but this only has integrated graphics. It does not have a dedicated graphics card. For me, that's okay. You know, graphics, a dedicated graphics card introduces heat and thermals and all that. I wanted something quiet and lightweight, so it's all good. But what an eGPU is kind of designed for is for people who want to use the laptop on the move and then come home and then they can get access to all this graphical power. It's kind of the best of both worlds. You get a lightweight solution, and then you come home and your eGPU is connected to your monitor and to your graphics card. So essentially an eGPU is really just a big box, really. It's a USB hub, and then you can put in a desktop graphics card. Now, it's not the perfect solution. Right off the bat, I'll say it's not the perfect solution for everyone. Firstly, being the price. In the Blackmagic eGPU, it's in the UK, it's about £500, £600. Even the Razer Core X here is about £260. And you can connect these to MacBooks and other laptops that have got Thunderbolt 3 ports. And they're kind of marketed as being the best solution for everyone. I don't think they are. Firstly, being that they're not plug and play, so you always have to restart your system. But secondly, well, the cost, as I said, you can be 300, 400 for the eGPU, and that's before you buy the actual graphics card. And then you don't get access to all of that power. If I had to buy something like a 2060 and put it into a PCI Express slot in my PC, I would get 100% of the power if I put it into an X8 or an X16 slot. But we've only got 4 lanes of PCI Express here. So what that means is that you're only going to get about 70% of the power of the graphics card. In general, on average, if you put a graphics card into an eGPU box, you're only going to get essentially an X4 slot of power. So despite the eGPU having an X16, there's only 4 lanes of PCI Express traffic. So you're only going to get about 70% of the power. So you're paying a lot more money to get that power, and then you're only going to get a fraction of it. Now, it will depend on the eGPU, the card, and the laptop that you're using, but that is something to bear in mind. And it's something which I think that because of that, a lot of people could just be as well buying or building a desktop PC specifically for gaming in the house. And that's how they get the best of both worlds. But for some people, it does work out quite well. But what I think people are forgetting about is the CPU. And this is what people are really, really not talking about. There's this misconception that an eGPU can totally transform your computer into this graphical powerhouse. And it does give you access to a huge amount of power. You could put in a top-of-the-range graphical card into an eGPU, top-of-the-range graphics card, and you can get access to a lot of power which is not there. I mean, this has got integrated graphics. But you're kind of swapping, at a certain point, you're swapping one bottleneck for another. And you're going to spend a lot of money and then reach another bottleneck quite quickly, especially with games. So in this laptop, for example, if I'm playing a game, because the CPU is handling the graphics, I'm going to hit a bottleneck quite quickly because the CPU is doing the CPU work and it's doing the graphical work. But it's important to note that games also need CPU and they also need memory. Now, I've been reminded of this recently. This is my Alienware M15. Interestingly, this has got the Alienware amplifier, which is an external, kind of like an external eGPU option, which has got 16 lanes of traffic. But the limiting factor in here, the bottleneck here, has not been the graphics card. It's actually been the CPU. I've been playing a lot of Modern Warfare recently, and if I play this at 1080p or something, the graphics card might only be tested and it might only be at 20 or 30%, 35%, whilst the CPU is at 55, 60%. And I found that when I went up to the higher resolutions and the higher frame rates, I pushed this to 1440p at 144 frames per second. The graphics card was still only at 40%, 45%, but the CPU was bottlenecking. It was jumping between 80 and 90 and 100%. The CPU is the bottleneck there. And it's worth pointing that out because I could plug in an external graphics card to this and give it more graphical power, but I will not get more performance because the CPU is the bottleneck. Now, that's a powerful laptop, and the issue of bottlenecking is even more severe when you've got something like this, when you've got a 13-inch MacBook or anything lightweight. The CPU is probably going to be the bottleneck before you want it to be. Now, I'm not trying to say the eGPUs cannot give you more graphical power. They can, but you're paying a lot of money for something which isn't going to deliver exactly what you want. So in this, I could in theory connect a 2080 Ti, but I might still be restricted by the 8GB or the 16GB of RAM. Maybe the game, cannot get as much memory that it needs, or maybe it can't get the CPU power that it needs. Now, this has got a quad-core CPU, but it's a ULV, an ultra-low voltage CPU. It's only like 15 watts. It's not the most powerful CPU out there. Granted, in comparison to CPUs a few years ago, it actually performs quite well. But a lot of games are CPU heavy. Depending on the game, I could benefit, getting access to that additional power. There'll be certain games where it does require a lot of GPU resources that I can connect to an eGPU and I can play the game at the settings that I want. But there will be other games such as Modern Warfare and perhaps other first-person shooters that require a lot of CPU resources. And that means that if I connected an eGPU to this, I could spend £1,000 on an eGPU and a good graphics card, and yet I might only get, I might only use about 40% of that GPU because the bottleneck will be the CPU now. The CPU will struggle to keep up with it. And it is worth noting though, because I think I've looked at a lot of the marketing behind these eGPUs, and there is a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of crap out there about the fact that you plug these light portable laptops into an eGPU and you can play any game at the top of the range, top of the highest settings, the best settings, the most optimal settings. It simply isn't true. You're going to hit the bottleneck with the CPU well before you can get the benefit of an eGPU. I still like the eGPU, the concept, the idea behind an eGPU and getting, exporting that graphical power to something else. I like the idea of it. I do like the idea of it, but I think in practice, you're nearly always better to build a PC or put the difference in money towards a gaming laptop. Now, there are certain laptops that I think an eGPU would be perfect for, and that would be workstations. There's certain workstations from Lenovo and Dell and HP, which have got, 64, 128 gigabytes of memory, and they've got octa-core CPUs, absolute powerhouses, but they're relying on either integrated graphics or just very basic workstation graphics cards. Those types of laptops would be really good with eGPUs actually, because the CPU would no longer be a bottleneck and you could get the most out of the graphics card. With smaller, more portable options like this, you're going to run into problems with the CPU before you get the most out of your GPU. So just bear all of this in mind before you go out and build an eGPU setup. You're going to have to spend a few hundred on an eGPU itself, and then you're going to have to spend anything 300, 500, 700, whatever you want to get an eGPU graphics card, a graphics card that you can put into the eGPU, but you're never going to get the full potential from that card. And you might never even get the full potential from the eGPU You might not even get 100% of the 70% because that CPU will probably be a bottleneck way before you get to the optimal performance or to the settings that you want. Something to bear in mind, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Take care.